Hi there and welcome to Rachioty Mum today. I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about, and I was thinking about some really wise advice that I was given recently. You know, when you're growing up and I was really lucky. I had my mum, but I had all these sort of extra mums, family friends and aunts, and one of these extra mums I had, who was sort of a mother figure for me, was a wonderful woman, is a wonderful woman by the name of Janet Fremantle, and she is also a councillor at a school in Cape Town. And I've known her my whole life, and she's watched me grow up, and she had 3 sons of her own. So I think now that I've got sons, you know, she's got a lot of valuable input for mothers like me, having walked this road. And she responded to one of the things I'd put on and sent me an email of a whole lot of fantastic resources. And one of the things that was in those resources was some information about your child and what the goals behind their actions are, and how to really listen to what their actions are telling you. And she quoted some work by a psychologist by the name of Rudolf Drakers. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And they're just sort of 4 different goals your child may have. And it's been such a learning process for me, so I've been trying it out. So the first is that if what your child does is making you angry, it's because your child needs boundaries. The second is that if what your child does is irritating you, it's because your child needs your attention. The third thing that your child might be trying to communicate with you is if your child makes you feel hurt, it's because your child is feeling hurt, him or herself. And the last one is that if your child makes you feel helpless or inadequate, it is probably because they are feeling helpless or inadequate themselves. So I've really been trying to reflect on, when my boys do something, how does that make me feel? And to look at if it might play out that these suggestions are correct. And it's been amazing the number of examples that have come up. So obviously with doing Rachioty Mum, I'm on my phone a lot more than I have ever been before, recording things or taking photos of the boys while they're doing something or responding to DMs. And Joey started doing something that really irritates me. I'll be on my phone and he'll come and he'll whack my phone out of my hand. And the irritation I feel, like I want to just lash out at him. But when I stop and I reflect and I'm like, okay, so what am I feeling inside? And I know that I'm feeling extreme irritation. So I look at, okay, so that means he wants my attention. And it makes perfect sense because, you know, it's my attention that my phone is robbing him of. So the thing that he's doing is really around getting my attention. And then another example came up, and that was the feelings around helplessness or inadequacy. And towards the end of the day, when his sensory cup is really full and he's had enough, I found that I had started avoiding social engagements with other people because I was just feeling so helpless, because so often we would go to these things, a play date or meeting at the pool or something like that at the end of the day. And it's always nice to have something to do at the end of the day when you feel like the day is really dragging. And I would end up feeling so helpless because Joey's behavior would just spiral. And I'd get like the social anxiety around committing to things like that, because I knew that I'd be stuck there and I'd be trying to control him and trying to contain his behavior, and I couldn't. And viewing it like this and stopping and going, okay, so what you're doing is making me feel helpless. That might mean that you feel helpless, was such an eye-opener for me, because it made me realize that I was taking him to these situations and he just felt helpless. And it was too much for him and he couldn't cope with it. And so it actually made me realize that I couldn't put him in those situations. It wasn't fair because I was making him feel completely helpless. And in an attempt to deal with his helplessness, he was lashing out, which was making me feel helpless. So It's really amazing. And now with Benji, like, and he's really started testing and doing things that make me quite angry. That real defiance that you get, sort of the 18 months to 3 years stage, that real defiance about things. And Benji's been so easy to manage up till now, and I suddenly noticed I'm getting angry with him for the first time. I've never been really angry with him. And it's such a reminder of, okay, so he's testing where the boundaries are. If I'm feeling angry, he needs to know that this is the boundary. This is not acceptable behavior. So I've really loved this process because I think it's so useful for a number of reasons. One is the first thing that it makes me do is reflect on how my child's behavior, what is rising up in me. And when you do that, it just gives you a pause, a small moment before you react. So it's helping to teach me to make that pause, which is so good because it means you're not giving that sort of knee-jerk response. So I reflect on, okay, so what is rising up in me? Is it helplessness? Is it irritation? Is it anger? Is it hurt? And that helps guide how I respond, because if I'm feeling helpless, grabbing on to try and control a situation may not be the right thing if I consider that the situation is making my child feel helpless. So how do I deal with it? Well, I help my child feel empowered. The same way as if I am feeling irritated and it's because you want my attention, yes, I can shut it down, but the truth is you're going to keep doing something until you get my attention, because that is what you need in this situation as my child. So it's been a really useful process. So I'll just repeat those to you. So the first one is, if your child makes you feel angry, if you feel anger rising up, it's because your child needs a reminder of the boundaries. If your child makes you feel irritated, it's probably because your child is asking for attention. If your child makes you feel hurt, there is probably some hurt that your child is experiencing. And if your child makes you feel helpless or inadequate, it is probably because they are feeling helpless or inadequate. And the way through that is to empower them to feel like they can help themselves or that they are being helped. Anyway, have a little try. I found it really useful, and I'm very thankful to Janet for that resource. Let me know how it goes. Have a good week.